Right before we start, I just wanted to show you, like, look at the coincidence. Really, it was just a coincidence. Really, it was just a coincidence. Both from this current arc, which kind of tripped me out last time, but yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, tonight, we're back with Higurashi. So I just got confused because I looked at the date and I'm like, today's Saturday, but it's 12:01, so it is Sunday. Last time in Higurashi. we we finished up the whole Natsumi and Chisato beef. I thought it was done really well. You know, I regret my words and actions for putting any blame on Chisato. Natsumi was just getting a twisted message when she was snooping in on them because of her Hinamizawa syndrome, and they hashed out the beef. It was a really touching moment, and we got a little comedy with Tomoe and Yamokai with the wedding pamphlet things. So let's see where this goes. Everything's looking hunky dory, but I still think we need to tie this somehow into its sister arc, right? To introduce Tomoe and Akasaka to the fray. Anyway, that back and forth question and answer exchange continued for a while longer. In the end, of course Tomoe couldn't stand Yamokai looking down on her with that miserable face, so she had no choice but to make a few suggestions to him. Oh yeah, to choose the ring? That is pretty psycho. I feel like that should not leave that to Tomoe. She wasn't particularly confident on the subject of fashion, but she was able to make a few small recommendations regarding Madoka's taste based on the time they lived together. What, when they were kids? However, there's no guarantee that her tastes from back before she left home were still the same as today. Yeah, that was literally when she was like a teenager. It's a long time ago, man. You'd imagine they
いやい
change.
や、おかげで助かったよ。本当に君の分はいいのかね？
Yo, top the free jewelry. Honestly, feel like a ruby earring or a ruby ring would look kind of sick on Tomoe since she's already going for the red look.
結構です。
It's like a cherry on top.
要件はこれだけですか？
I imagine now it's time to be serious, though.
ならそろそろ私は失礼。
That's why the music is gone and they transitioned a bit.
事件捜査の進みは
Oh.
どうかね？
See, you have all this funny banter, and then he hits you with a hard-hitting question, man. Catches her off balance. I didn't even see her say it caught her off balance. But see, look! What's the point, man? Tomoe had already begun to stand up from the sofa, but she couldn't come up with a quick reply, so she remained there, half-sitting, staring at Yamokai. He took a seat on the sofa and gathered his documents, while turning to her with the same easygoing face as before.
なるほど。そうきたか。
Little sneaky. Tomoe bitterly smiled to herself at this roundabout way of bringing her here, dispelling the tension and alertness with a completely unrelated conversation was probably his way of demonstrating he had no hostility or ill will, but that seemed a bit overly considerate. It's a little weird in my opinion, but I'm not a cop. That does kind of seem like a cop strat, like a classic one now that I'm thinking of it, but the banter was so good, man. Even if he hadn't done that, Tomoe trusted Yamokai. It's just that she couldn't express it due to various circumstances. Yamokai just asked about the investigation. It was clear he wasn't referring to the joint headquarters investigation she was involved with as a public relations officer. He must be referring to the secret investigation she was conducting with Fujita and the other detectives.
報告していたのは藤田
Who's the rat?
それとも花田くんかな。
If I had to bet, I'd say Hanada, just as Fujita's her boy. He had a spite longer for Hanada. But he didn't ask them to stop, so it didn't feel right to blame them. In fact, Their own circumstances were their top priority, so she warned them they could drop it anytime they needed to. Still, in a rough sense, Yamote had tolerated Tomoe and her cohort's actions up until now. Still, in a rough sense, Yamote had tolerated Tomoe and her cohort's actions up until now. And the reason he brought her here to ask about it was because they made some progress, or maybe something went wrong.
ご報告を申し上げなかったことはすみませんでした。警察庁所属の職員が所轄署の刑事に仕事を依頼するのは越権行為だと重々理解しております。
まったくだ。それに今の捜査本部にも失礼な話だしな。
ひょっとしてどこかから苦情が入ったのですか？
No way.
もしそうなら検責は私一人で受けたまわりますので、どうか藤田
Who
君たち
would
の処
though?
分はご勘
It's
弁
a
に。
secret.
早がてんするな。山村も私もそれを咎めようというつもりなど毛頭ない。
Oh.
君たちの動きに気づいているのも署内では他におらんようだ。
So do we have the green light?
よかった。
Tomoe put a hand on her chest as she breathed a sigh of relief. Unlike Tomoe, Fujita and Hanada had families to worry about. There was nothing admirable about letting them get punished.
ただ
Oh, maybe not a green light. Yellow light?
はい。
I'd take a yellow light.
せっかく君が大掛かりに立ち回って科警研まで巻き込んだ肝入りの捜査本部なのだ。
Yeah, but the NRIPS guys are assholes.
仕切るお偉方にも説明すれば捜査員を一挙動員することは可能だし、まして県警の連中は君に好意的だ。彼らを活用して動いた方が効率もよく、
Green light?
何かと便利ではない。
Flashing green light? I mean, it made sense. We were trying to keep it a secret, but I guess, like, if he could, I mean, it still would be a secret, but if he could get, like, actual, like, permission to do it from, like, higher ups, that would be a benefit.
ええ、実は当初はそうするつもりで進めておりました。ですが、
Tomoe knows more than me. Tomoe sat down on the sofa once again and seemed to resign herself to speaking frankly. Fully explaining the situation would be necessary to gauge Yamotai's true intentions.
どうやら捜査内容が漏れている疑いがあるので
Yep,
す。
there's definitely a mole. 100%.
実際この半年間、私たちへの情報提供者の態度が直前、
Even just with
直後に急変したりして、情報収集を阻害されることが
the whole
何度かあ
nurse
りました。
murder thing. How the person, giving the nurse the drugs to kill her, knew the cops were closing in on her.
その証拠は
こちらです。聞き込みのアポを取った直後にこちらで準備した質問内容と実際の聞き込み時の供述、明らか
They
に
changed
我
it.
々が必要とする情報を第三者が介在して口止めを図った形跡が見られます。
Tomoe spread out her police notebook and explained all the shorthand in her notes to Yamotai. Officials were attempting to secretly approach people connected to Reina Ryugu and Nagisa Ozaki. Like the truck driver responsible for Nagisa's fatal accident, or hospital officials working at the facility where Yoko Hiranuma was suspected of killing a male student who was hospitalized there. Suspected? She definitely did it. In all cases, the people questioned offered prepared answers like they already knew the content of the questions, and they'd always say they don't remember in with regards to the most important information. And on top of that,
平沼陽子の看護学校時代の親友だった女性、今行方不明なんです。
oh shit. The woman in question apparently met with Yoko Hiranuma a few days before the incident, and they talked about various things. The investigator heard this from one of her work colleagues and immediately tried to contact her, but when they tried visiting her home, she was already gone, allegedly leaving on a trip a few days prior. Seems a little sussy.
それなのに令状を取って家宅捜索を行った自宅には通帳や印鑑が置きっぱなし。長期の旅行先にそれらを携帯していないなんて少し考えにくいです。
確かに。
しかも行き先は不明のままで、有給が終わったその日に退職願いが病院に郵送されてきた。
That is really sus.
退職理由は一身上の都合と言っても、帰省した様子、そして家族に連絡をした形跡等は一切なし。疑うなという方が無理というものです。
She was likely silenced by someone, and what's more, it had to have been done by someone with the access to police information. It wasn't just Tomoe. Anyone would interpret it that way. And I'm anyone, so I agree.
ただ、あからさますぎる隠蔽工作なのが少々気になる。
Yeah, not so subtle. Maybe he was setting an example, delivering a message not to dig any deeper. But if that's the case, then the culprit clearly doesn't understand Tomoe's way of thinking. She has an intense loathing and desire to fight against people stooping to threats and suppression. And that's why we love her. Or maybe they anticipated that, and this was a part of the trap to lure her further in. We call that 4D chess around here. Trying to make her distrust her fellow officers and limit the scope of her investigation activities?
考えすぎかもしれない。
Perhaps.
それに
If she read too deeply into it, she'd only get stuck. But it was certainly true that if she indiscriminately disclosed all her official investigation activities, her foes would continue beating her to the punch. And so, Tomoe decided to conduct her own investigation on the side while handling news correspondence and other public relations work. In light of the common sense and discipline, unauthorized activities were never praiseworthy. But even if the project ended with the investigation stalled, ultimately she'd have to take the blame for her big talk.
ならば、座して待つよりも前に進んで攻められた方がいい。
Might as well, I guess. If it's lose unless you win, you might as well go for the win, even though it's not a great chance. Although she wasn't confident that thought was coming from anything but desperation. No, I mean, it's a good strat for sure. If you're if you're certain there's a mole, it's not really another way you can tackle it unless you're trying to find out who the mole is, but that might be even harder.
私が山村に黙っていたのもそれが理由かね。
味方を疑うのはあまり感心できることじゃありません。ただ今回の事件には異常な点が多すぎる。ただの男子学生と看護師が死んだ事件と片付けるには警察側への干渉力が現状ありすぎます。だから信用できる部下と一緒に調べてみたかったのです。
私は君にとってその信頼できる人間ではなかったということか。
Listen, she said subordinate. It's not people, okay? Don't twist it.
それは申し訳なかったな。
あ、いえ、そうじゃなくて。
This was Yamokai. If she had asked for his cooperation, he surely would have provided appropriate manpower and personal connections. However, if the enemy really was a police officer, that would be taking a big risk. The larger scale their activities, the easier they are to detect. True, but also just tell him not to do a large scale investigation and tell him to snoop around on the side. I feel like that was also a valuable option to consider. The same was true for Yamamura, the section chief of the 1st Division, and for Dojima, section chief of the 1st Division at Prefectural Police. Due to those concerns, Tomoe was hesitant to tell them about it until now.
ですが勝手な期待になって申し訳ありませんが、山沖さんたちならきっと何らかの形で気づかれると思っていました。そして私たちがあなた方に話さない理由も理解してくださると。だから今日それをお尋ねになるということは、
I
何
mean,
か動きがあった
might be good news.
そう考えてよろしいのでしょうか。
動きか。その信用できる部下の藤田君から私に話があってな。
What that? Hold on, I'm scared. Yamota's smile suddenly vanished and his expression changed. Then he set the documents in his hand aside, leaned slightly forward, and began to speak up.
君には内密にと前置きした上で私に頭を下げてきた。
Well, now I feel bad about, trying to take Fujita over Haneda for who told Yamota. My bad, Haneda. Gotta put some more respect to his name.
どんな理由でもいい。見ない警部が今回の別行動的な捜
What the
査から
heck, Fujita?
外れるよう説得してくれと。それを受けて君に本意の意思があるのか、ここで確かめておきたいと思ってね。
I guess Yamota didn't really care about the promise, huh? He made with Fujita. He just said it without us even asking.
え？
断っておくが、彼は君を裏切ったわけではない。そして君の依頼した捜査内容に不満を持っているわけでもない。むしろ彼は君のことを心配して悩んだ末に言ってきたのだ。それは理解してやってくれ。
Well, I want to hear why he's worried about us for the specific reason, then we'll understand. But I don't know, man. Does he think Tomoe's in too deep or something? It's kind of fucked
ど
up,
ういう
though.
ことですか？
You might have to have a heart-to-heart with Fujita, like Natsumi and Chisato had to. After this, man. Though she could understand, she still couldn't wipe away her distress, so she tried to suppress the feelings in her voice as she asked that. Fujita was roughly the same age as her, and he was one of the most friendly and trustworthy detectives within Kakuchi Station. Though he was a little clumsy and weak-kneed, he came from an athletic background, so he put all his heart into his work. He was a good, young man with strong convictions and a solid understanding of right and wrong. So, why? Why would he try to put a stop to her investigation? Well, it's obviously not because he's trying to cover up anything. I do think it's out of genuine concern for Tomoe. I just want to hear the exact reason.
捜査自体は藤田君と花田君、それに一家でも信用できる連中を巻き込んで継続の予定だ。山村も指揮を受け継ぐことについてはすでに
We didn't say we're fine with it. It's a fucking hostile takeover.
だったらどうして私だけ？
藤田君の言うにはこのままだと君が命を落としかねないとな。
I mean, he's not wrong. Probably. So maybe it's a Fujita dub in the end. Yeah. I mean,
現場で動いているからこそ、そういった空気を敏感に感じ取っているのだろう。
so is kind of sketchy because Tatsuno actually does know who Tomoe is, so it's kind of
私も
spooky.
実はそれに同意見だ。
警察官である以上、危険は常にあるものです。
Not wrong.
それに、それを言うならむしろ現場の藤田君たちの方が危ないはずです。
Kind of not wrong, but they know you're the boss, so I don't think that's actually right with the
彼ら
full
なら命
knowledge.
を落としてもいいってあなたはおっしゃるんですか？
いや、危険なのは智恵君。君の方だ。私が敵の頭なら、真っ
That's
先
what
に
I'm
狙うこ
saying,
とを
dude.
考えるほどにな。
Gotta cut the head of the snake so they have no direction left.
君が女性であっても、そうでなかったとしても。
I wasn't thinking that either. Just, you know. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tomoe just can probably beat up Fujita and Haneda. No questions asked. Yamotai continued his explanation, unceremoniously, refusing the argument Tomoe brought up.
そもそも、捜査員は人間の体で言えば手足。これはヒゲでも何でもなく事実だ。故に傷ついても、あるいは失われても、
But the brain
別の部位
can't.
がそれにとって変わることができる。
For now. Who knows? Maybe brain trans. I mean, how? I guess a brain transplant wouldn't even work, huh? Like it's the one thing that can never be transplanted, even if you had all the technology. Unless you can like make a copy of your brain or something.
だが、頭や心臓、その他生命に必要な器官は、それが傷つくだけで、体全域の機能が低下し、あるいは。
Just being a bit more broad, but true. But you know, heart transplants, at least that might come one day, like actual effective ones.
なら
But I don't think the brain
そこ
transplants
を
would
狙え
ever.
ばいいと考えるのは当然の発想だと思うがね。
買いかぶりもいいところです。
No, Yamoto is definitely right. He's cooking. He is in the kitchen.
第一、私は
広報室から出張ってきているだけの報道対応係長。肩書きは確かにそうだが、今君がいなくなれば捜査本部はどうなるかね。どんなに強力な歯車で構成された機械回路でも、潤滑油がなければいずれ錆びて全体の動きがストップするものだ。その
I
中
mean,
身
just don't put
が
water on it.
複雑にな
Then
れ
it
ば
won't rust.
なるほどにね。
But he's not wrong. He's just right. Can't really argue against it. Honestly, you should just take a nice trip to Hinamizawa with Natsumi and Chisato and Tamato and Akira. I feel like that's the best option now, Tomoe, now that you're getting booted. I didn't read.
たまには休んだ方がいいですよ。
She were talking about Fujita said before.
あなたが今倒れたら、科警研と現場の連中が衝突して、プロジェクトが吹っ飛びますからね。
My enter key. In fact, even now, relationships between the dissatisfied on-scene investigators and the arrogant NRIP staff who care nothing for that were already difficult to repair. In the unlikely event that the project facilitator Tomoe were to die or otherwise be removed from the investigation, Section Chief Dojima from the 1st Division at Prefectural Police would probably end up completely spoiling relations with the NRIPs. Thus, some of the people with negative feelings or open opposition to the project had already even slandered Tomoe to upper management.
畑副所長もその中の
Not
一人
Hara.
ってたっけ。
Tomoe was really surprised when she heard it from Public Relations Director Maino and the informant Arakawa. Surprised that there were people out there who couldn't understand the nature of police no matter how old they got. Be that as it may, Tomoe at least partially understood what sort of role she had to play in her current position. That's why she was grateful for the concern Yamote and the others were showing her, and she felt guilty about it.
協力してくださった皆さんには本当に頭が下がる思いです。私が言い出したプロジェクトに忙しい中、いろんな不平不満も飲み込んで力を貸してくださる。もったいないことです。
智恵君。
ですが、いえ、だからこ
Me
そ
either.
私はこのまま真相に近づかないまま終わりたくないんです。
Because because we have no more arts left to explore it. Explore the shrine,
科
man.
警研はお手柄顔で凱旋するかもしれませんが、これで犯人の姿が判明せずに閉じてしまったら、せっかくの皆さんの行為を無下にしてしまうことにもなりかねない。残った時間はもうそれほどありません。多少強引でも敵の本質に近づく努力をし続けることで行き詰まっている現状を打破できるかもしれない。だから
そのためなら自らの命も危険にさらすと。
Yeah, why not?
私も警察の端くれです。危険は覚悟の上で敵が私を狙ってくれるのならなおのこと好都合です。それが捜査の突破口を開くことになり、そして私の後を引き継いだ誰かが犯人を捕まえてくれる。そのためのおとり役であれば喜んで引き受けるつもりです。
そして君は父と同じ末路に至る。親子二代、正義に準じて死す。
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna go, it's not a horrible way to go, I guess.
救われん話だと思わんかね。いや、君はそれでも満足だろう。信じるままやりたいように生き、勝手にのたれ死ぬ。警察官としての信念を抱きながら思い残すことなく生きるだろう。だが残された家族、まどか君はどうなる？
I mean, good point.
それは
We'll leave her a letter. Just put her in the will. Tomoi's letter, sister was precious to her. There's no way she hadn't imagined what Madoka's life would be after her death. Madoka would be in tears if anything happened to her. No, she'd be enraged, and she'd blame herself for her sister's shallow foolishness and be overcome with grief. But even though that would be painful and heartbreaking for a single person, two people together might be able to endure it. More importantly than oneself is the encouragement and comfort provided by your loved ones, so surely.
あの子にはあなたがいるじゃないですか。
And honestly, even in the art where Tomoe died, Madoka like kinda grew up still, married.
まどかは見かけ以上に強い子ですから、たとえ私に何があって
Not
も
saying that
あなたがいれば
she's chill with Tomoe dying or whatever, obviously, I'm just saying.
私はそう信じ
She
てい
can
ます。
move past it eventually. Probably because they also taught the guy, quote unquote taught it, because I'm pretty sure it was a girl, right? So they taught the wrong guy.
勝手な思い込みだな。いや、もはや思い上がりと言うべきだろう。急に結婚を認める気になったのも、あるいはそんなところか。
Got her.
半年間、一体何を学んできたのだ。ここに戻ってきた時、私に向かって言ったことを思い出してみたまえ。
それは
Flashback me.
感情的な復讐心や自己満足の行いは自分の失敗を認めたくないという見苦しさの産物です。
He brought the receipts, man. That's a strong quote against her actions, huh?
自分は正しいと一人で思い込んで、誰にも頼らず誰の言葉にも耳を貸さない独りよがりの未熟なまがいものの正義です。でもそれでは本当の悪には勝てない。いえ、戦えない。こちらが犯罪を取り締まるためあらゆる手段と知識を蓄えているように、相手も同様の準備をしてこちらを叩き潰そうとその武器を磨いている。そんな奴らに一人でできることなんてたかが知れています。
She had the perfect
確か
receipt,
に
man.
私はそう言いま
That
した。
fits so well against her right now.
みんなの力を合わせて当たることこそが重要だと。そして私は 幸運にもたくさんの人の力を借りることができました。
運か。
It's not really fortunate. It's more a product of her will, kind of like talk, in a sense. Yamote felt that Tomoe achieved results through effort rather than talent, and liked that part of her personality. However, he knew that sort of kindness and selflessness could sometimes lead to self-sacrifice. Irresponsible people are untrustworthy, but a person shouldering too much responsibility is dangerous. They have a strong tendency to narrow their horizons so tightly that they don't even realize they're heading to ruin. Tomoe today was at the very extreme end of that, and that's why Yamote felt like he needed to stop her.
私が今ここにいるのはたくさんの人たちのおかげです。みんな忙しい中でも私に力を貸してくれて、いろんな期待を託してくれている。私はそれに応える義務がある。そう考えるのは間違っていますか？
故に彼らに貢献するべく、そして期待に応えるべく自分の命を投げ出す。
I guess that's technically not living up to their expectations, huh?
それを聞いて喜ぶ奴がどこにいる？少なくとも肉親、知人でそれを肯定する奴がいるとでも。
Well, we only have one relative. But he's owning us. Help.
ならば君は逆の立場になっても相手に対してそう思うのかね？死して立派な奴だったと。ともえくん、自分の命を自分だけのものと考えるな。君はこれまで誰かに支えられて、
I mean, true. I think in
誰かに
general,
助けられて人生を送っ
it's
てき
actually
た
a
はず
pretty,
だ。
it's a pretty nice mindset to have. Don't just live your life like it's your own. I mean, it technically is your own, and I do think you should do what you want, but you should, especially when going into a life-threatening situation and you're prepared to die, you should think that, like, your death doesn't just affect you. I'm pretty sure every person in the world, like, has someone who would be affected by their death. Probably.
そしてそれと同時に君はそれぞれの夢や思いを託されて、その期待に応えるべく今日まで頑張ってきたのだろう。たとえ泥水をすすって地獄にまみれようとも、必死に生きることも戦いだ。にもかかわらず勝手に自ら幕を閉じて、君はどう言い訳をするつもりだ？
それは
As to be expected, I'm getting old. Tomoe had nothing to say to that, so she kept quiet. Yamote pulled out a cigarette to calm his heated emotions, then lightly turned his head to the side for a smoke before continuing.
言わずもがなと思って黙ってきたが、あえて伝えよう。君は今回捨て身でこのプロジェクトに刑事生命をかけたと言っていたな。もし失敗すれば完食行き、あるいは失職も覚悟してと。それだから多少の無茶や衝突も大したことではないと
But there are
開き直っているのかもしれん。
But there are graver consequences than just losing your job or getting demoted.
だが現実は違うぞ。
Gotta realize the death factor.
君が3ヶ月以内に解決してみせると豪語した番組企画のことだ。すでに前のは上層部と局のお偉方に当初の目的が達成できなかった時の対処案を提出している。新しい捜査形態を体系づけた立役者の一人として君は東京に凱旋する。科検系の連中の動きを
Sorry,
逆
his
に
dramatic
利用したわけ
speeches.
だ。
I lost focus for a second.
テレビ局側も大筋でその代替案に賛成らしい。
そんな。
What can't be? The story was completely new to Tomoe, so of course she gazed back at Yamote with her eyes open wide. She already knew that Oichi from Enribs was working with the 2nd Division in order to protect himself. But she was surprised to learn that Director Mino was willing to rack his brain so far to protect her. A little rollback here. Okay, yeah. So basically, even if it fails, Mino's, gonna show that, they didn't meet their goal, but they produced good results to continue the project, and obviously Tomoe will still be involved with it through Mino's help also, obviously pushing it a bit.
そこまで。
奴も長い間理解者に恵まれず苦労した口だからな。たった一度のことで信頼できる部下を手放すような真似はしない。と、前野にとっては成功や失敗よりもむしろ君がこのプロジェクトで何らかを学び取り、経験を得ることこそを求めていた。結果など関係なく、その過程が重要だった。だからこそ、
I mean, it's true.
奴は支援する気になったのだ。
It's not like worldwide revolutionary, but it definitely revolutionizes Japan's policing, adding the whole profiling stuff to it. It's a big step up.
学習と経験。
She felt discomfort at hearing those words, her eyes widening. Part of it was how she was dancing to a completely different tune than her original intentions, but more so that light disregard for the work on scene which ran completely contrary to her beliefs.
それって科警研の人たちと同じということですか？人が死んでいるんですよ。実際に不幸になった人がいるのに、それをテストケースなんて。
He's not, I mean, in a way he's saying that, but you gotta think, like, in the whole scope of things, even if this does end up like a test case, which I don't even think he's necessarily saying, but this new information properly integrated can save tons of lives. I don't know the murder rate in Japan or whatever, but I feel like it could save a lot more, so sometimes you just gotta go for it, man. It's like when they're testing medicine on animals and they do their first human trial. It's scary, but sometimes you gotta do it, risk it for the biscuit.
確かにある意味ではそうかもしれん。控えめに言っても良心的な話ではない。だが、机上の空論で固まった人間を作り出さないためには、あえてみんなが目を背ける現実で苦労させることも必要だ。違うかね？まして君は当初の目的を外れたとはいえ、プロ
Yeah,
ファイリングの効果を実際に示してみせた。
it's valuable.
手柄は確かに科警研だが、各方面を調整して上層部を解き伏せ、形として組み上げた本当の立役者が誰なのか。みんな出世の評価として提示できないのは。
The master of slow talk, man. How? I literally took a sip of my break and the pause was longer than that.
出世なんて私は。
ともえくん、出世を軽く思うな。
Yeah, man. If you become head of the police department, you got all the power.
正しいこと、自分の信じることを
Yeah,
他人に
it's
説
important.
得し、協力を取り付けるために必要なのは肩書きと名声だ。警察と正義を信じたいのならば偉くなれ。たとえあざとく思われようとも一切気にしない勇気を持つんだ。それが君の理想に近づく最善手だと私は信じている。
山沖さん。
She remembered half a year ago. When Tomoe heard the same thing back then, she became angry and rejected the thoughts of Yamoka and the others. She didn't become a police officer for prestige. She didn't pursue the associate career path seeking achievements. Even now, that feeling hadn't wavered. So when she first transferred to the National Police Agency and saw how the people were subject to demerit system based on a personal accomplishments, deep in her heart Tomoe despised it. However, what she felt in the past 6 months while trying to actualize her ideals was the need to prove their legitimacy. Her educational background, have the accolades to back up your idea. Her achievements at work, her social standing, personality, connections, in a sense those old-fashioned factors played a key role. If Tomoe hadn't gone to Kashima University, the Secretariat of the Commissioner would never have deemed. It's not a real word. What the fuck is that? Fake word alert. Oh no, it's real.
Dane.
Dane. Do something that one considers to be beneath one. Dane. Literally never heard of that word before. If her former boss hadn't accumulated a numerous amount of investigation data and know-how from famous theorists, she never would have been able to persuade NREPs or the detectives in the field. Nothing can be shaped by thoughts alone, and she knew that she couldn't accomplish anything on her own. That was an unmistakable fact. What she was doing now was a result of all the help and support she received from so many people. Tomoe was painfully aware of that.
確かに捜査に大小も軽重
Wow.
だが藤田君はいやこの柿内署の捜査員はみんな君に期待しているのだこれだけ小さな警察署でさえ変えられる能力を持った人材だもしもこのまま出世して偉くなればきっと自分たちが警察官であることを誇りに思えるくらいに警察の組織に刺激を与えてくれる存在になってくれるとだからこそみんな
He was
君
still
に力を貸
talking?
している
Unless I'm tripping.
そして危ない橋ならば自分たちがと引き受ける気にもなるその思いは決して軽いものではないぞ
分かっています。いえ、分かりたいと思っています。いつもずっと
When she felt gratitude for the depths of their feelings, sometimes it made Tomoe's eyes so heated she wanted to cry. She truly was blessed. Deep in her heart, she felt that was the truth. When Tomoe lost her parents and her sister left her, she thought no woman could feel as miserable as she did, but she no longer felt that way.
私は本当に幸せ者だと思い
Great
ま
timing
す。
on the music for that.
それだけは分かっているんです。でも変な言い方を許してください。それを感じれば感じるほど私は正義とは一体何なのか
The
わ
ultimate
からなくなるん
question.
です。自分だけの正義は勝手な自己満足でしかない。だから他の人たちを巻き込んで正義を果たそうと願う。でもたくさんの人たちの力添えを感じれば感じるほど自分の行いに対する責任と代償が自分一人では済まないと思ってだからつい自制を考えてしまいたくなる。矛盾してますよねこれって。
Thinking about it now, her desperate attitude and thoughts may have been trying to get rid of her hesitation. And if so, then she truly was beyond hope, just as Yumote said. With that in mind, Tomoe masochistically smiled while running her fingers through her hair.
巴君
ひょっとするとだからこそ父は自己満足を承知で一人だけの正義を貫いたのでしょうか。その結果として 友人の思いに背き、家族さえも犠牲にした。
Yeah. Probably shouldn't model the path after your father's. No offense to the father, of course.
一切のしがらみ
Seems
か
like
ら
some
自
bad
由に行動する
blueprints.
ため、それが父なりの正義だった。だけど父のそんな思いは組織にとってただの独りよがりな愚かなものだったのでしょうか。
それは
前野さん、広報室長が以前話してくれたのです。あの人は新人の頃公安にいて、その指
Yep.
導教官
We
が
heard that story. It was
見ない
pretty
警
sick.
部補だったと。独自に行動することが多く、現場の人たちや上司はいつも振り回されていたそうですね。
Of course, that grandson was probably forgiven on account of his talent. But Tomoe thought that it is at all was an organizational problem, and in some ways it may have even been harmful. In fact, she didn't think much of her father's behavior in his lifetime, and she even witnessed a few people connected to the police cursing him from the shadows at his own funeral. It's pretty fucked up, man. Can't you just like curse him in your own home or something? Why are you cursing at a funeral?
あのしゃべりガラスが。
私、父を尊敬していました。今でもその気持ちに変わりはありません。ですが山沖さん、あなたに私の行き過ぎを注意されて、私自身それが最もだと思うと、父の行いは間違っていたんだろうかと不安になるんです。父はもっと家庭を顧みて、危険を冒すことなく振る舞うべきであったのではないか。
It's hard to say. I feel like it's just a personal call. Though I guess when you're invested in a family with children, then you probably should prioritize that. But it's all up to a person's sense of justice, as we're talking about, and so forth. It's hard to really judge someone's choices, especially like something hard like that. It comes down to like morals, values, and what you really value in life.
すみません。こんなことを言うつもりじゃなかったのですが。失礼します。
After saying that, Tomoe forced a smile as she rose to her feet. For some reason, when they did that transition, I thought he was about to like slap her or something. Then deeply bowed to apologize. Then she turned around and reached for the doorknob. But then,
ローエル事件を知っているか。
I am kind of. They've talked about it throughout the arcs. Anyways, guys, I feel like this is a nice place to stop. Thank you for watching. I am a little sleepy right now, actually, so gotta stop. It's a decent place to stop at least. But yeah, we'll learn more about the Lowell, and I'm assuming this will all tie back into her going to Hinamizawa, which would be really cool. But yeah, until next time, thanks for watching Higurashi, bye!